even if the server's full or if the server's low population. Like I was saying the other day to you when we was in a chat, and I was literally spending 20 minutes going up to this guy, and I was sneaking through the forest. Right at the last hurdle, a drone came on top of me and just ruined everything. I can understand it's to do with the law, but currently it doesn't really bring anything to the game other than immersion. Do you know what I mean?
It's a big thing, yeah.
And some phone calls, but I would rather be able to kill the player than get disturbed by another entity that doesn't really bring much to the table currently, because it does interfere quite a lot. Don't get me wrong, it's always, it works both ways. I could spot someone else with a drone, so that's always a good thing. But yeah, I do really dislike the drone.
You're probably not going to believe me, but I think a couple of months ago we've actually lowered the drone showing up rate by 8 times. So looks.
I'll be honest with you, I tend to have them quite a lot.
During 4 to 6 hour stream, how many
maybe
would you say that you get? Yeah.
In a 6 hour stream?
7.
Dozen.
Probably a dozen.
So that's basically one every half hour.
Yeah. I get them a lot. I get them a lot. Maybe it's just me. Every time I spawn in, there's a bear. I always get bears around me. I swear you guys have done something.
No, we haven't.
Spawn in, there's a bear. Every time.
Well,
this is.
No, depending on where your house is,
there.
they tend to usually spawn in more foresty type areas. That's where they usually spawn, and that's where you'll find them the most and get wrecked by them. But yeah. So, anything else?
I'm really looking forward to a map expansion and more threats. That's something I'm personally looking forward to.
You're pro the new AI threats that we've been showing, those mutants.
I like the I like the mutants because there's only, to be honest, there's only so long you can kill the same enemy before you get bored. That is just a fact. You can only go around so much. Like I was saying before, if you have different threats around different bunkers, different types of, the D4 airbase. D4 airbase. That place is near impossible to even go near because of the mechs and the puppets and everything else. Now, if there was like a different threat, like a higher threat, make it even harder to get up there. But just maybe like AI with some guns or something. There's a lot of people that say, hey, why don't you take out some of the mechs from the bunkers and just put AI there, so you don't really know, or you can't remember which bunker has AI or mechs. So you're not sure what you're going to really run up to. Because when you start expecting things, you're going to start knowing what to do, and then the challenge declines really from what you want out of
thankfully we're upgrading the Sentry AI, so they should behave more correctly. But okay, I'll come back to you in the second circle. So top class, now that we're on the topics of AI, would you rather see more mutant type AI or more human-like AI? By that I mean.
Oh man, I would love the human NPCs, man. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, human NPCs. Definitely.
When you're running through a forest, trying to find PvP or whatnot, it'd be kind of cool to have those things pop up once in a while to fill in the dull moments.
Do you mean like hostile NPCs or maybe?
Yeah, hostile.
Because the plan is, at the moment, the first type of NPC I see us implementing, and you can't control this of course, the first type of NPC would be like the peaceful trader, hopefully, in the safe zones. That would be the first iteration of the NPCs because they would be the easiest to implement, and then later on we can think about the new human AI that would actually roam the map. And Jux, what about you? Are you more on the mutant side or more on the human side?
I think personally, just because I do get into so much PvP, that's all that I really seek out. I'm really looking forward to seeing mutants. I love the lore behind the game, and I'd love to see more lore put in so to seeing mutants and just having something scarier. Because I noticed that at the moment, when you do go into a forest, you don't really have to think about a bear because you just punch it in the face and then it passes up. So there's like a few mutants, but then puppets. But puppets are pretty easily to get rid of. So it'd be nice to know that if you're taking cover in a forest, if you're having a oh my god, PvP fight, and you're running or you're in a hedge line trying to shoot into a town, it'd be nice to know that there could be something lurking about. You know, I'd love to see more lore put into the game because the lore is really interesting, and that's just something I'm really looking forward to, is having a story and much more meaning to the game.
Juxo, did you see the Reaper?
No,
You haven't heard about the Reaper?
no, oh
You got
no.
support- you got
Oh, you're
support
talking
for
about
Yeah.
that big thing.
Have a look in
Oh yeah.
the giant thing, yeah. See, what I tend to find is I see the majority of people saying, "Hey, no monsters in the game," right? But if you've got these biomechanically engineered creatures, humans that have been tested upon on the island in a lot of these bunkers that we find around, these testing labs and stuff like that. 'Cause you've got all the labs everywhere. It would be interesting to see, you know, some of these weird-looking creatures. Like you
Yeah.
almost feel not like, I'm not talking full monster. I'm talking
No.
biomechanically engineered people, and you almost feel sorry for them when you have to kill them.
You know,
Yeah.
Fallout,
You know.
like ghouls, like that. And
Yeah.
also in Fallout, there's that weird freaky thing with like 8 legs,
Oh, God.
and it's like 2 humans into one. Like things like that are like made because obviously the whole lore is that you have BCUs and the puppets are controlled and they're made to be outlandish for there to be a mutant that is made, and but not. I'm not talking like alien green with oval head that comes down in a UFO. I'm not talking like Witcher kind of monsters, just something that looks like a human that's been made to be scarier, a lot like the Fallout.
Yeah, did you guys see our
mutations.
concept art for the new AI? Like the first types of monsters that we would like to
Yeah.
add. And they honestly remind me, I don't know if you guys played Resistance Fall of Man. I think that was a PlayStation 3 exclusive back in, I don't know, 2008, 2010. And they kind of remind me of those monsters. Like, you can see they're genetically engineered humans, but what they've become is so horrifying you can't even imagine them as being human. And the type of concept art that wasn't released that we've seen around the office is just horrifying. Honestly, some of the pictures I've seen honestly brought chills to my spine. They were so fucking terrifying. What?
Do you know what though? You've got really good AI in this game compared to a lot of other survival games. Like,
The
when I
animals
sit there
could
and,
use
like,
some
say,
work.
you're watching the puppets, right? And the way they're moving is so lifelike, and that's something I really love about the game, because at the end of the day, the main threat in the game is the puppets, and obviously other players at the same time. So having different threats would definitely bring a more immersive experience. And you know, over the last 6 months, you guys have definitely brought more of an immersive experience into the game. Like completely, like even with the nighttime, little things just like nighttime being a bit darker, having flashlights on your rifles and your pistols and stuff like that, and then you have to tweak the lighting to get it right. And I'm so glad that you guys did that, because the lighting is getting so much better than what it used to be, where it used to bleed through walls and stuff like that. It's those little things, especially when you go around as a solo player and you want to have that immersive experience. You want to be scared. People play the game for a buzz, they play it for a thrill. People practically want to make a mess in their pants
Yeah, that's
when
kind
they
of
play
the
this
idea.
game. And I think I think that's what it's like. That's what it's like for me. I want to be terrified when I'm playing a game like this.
Yeah,
You know.
I feel the exact same. I want to be shit scared.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
You do. You know, and that's something that I wanted to talk a little bit about later on, like with how immersive the game's becoming, because it is getting there. It is getting there. But with the more, I digress slightly. But with the more POIs that you've got on the map, the more points of interest and more locations that you're actually having, is making the map seem quite smaller than what it is, because you've got so many locations and different sectors. You can only put so much on before you're going to have to. And whether that's possible, no. But I know that something like having more area to play with will definitely become more fun in that respect.
It has to be a nice balance of not being too clustered with POIs, but also you don't have to travel hours and hours to get to somewhere.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
one of the things we found with new
Yeah.
players and that frustrates them like heavily is basically spawning in, and then they spawn in with a friend and their friend is like 10 sectors away, and then they can either meet up in the middle or start looting individually and then meet up later. And depending on their spawn location, they can either have a 10-minute walk to the location or a 1-minute walk to the location, and it's a totally different experience for both, especially how Lady Luck strikes you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it. But I mean, you can only loot the same places, do the same things, and go in a circle for so long before you want something a little bit. You want something a bit more, something a little bit different. Different locations, maybe like if you ever did expand the map in any way. I'm not going to keep going on about expanding the map, but you can have quarantine zones. You can have radioactive environments where we have to wear these masks that we're currently wearing now to go in to get certain types of loot. And you can only even be in that area for so long before, you know, your body starts to sort of degrade by radiation or something like that. Because at the end of the day, it's a prison island, and I think, you know, a lot of people just want to have different places to look at. I mean, obviously, I know you guys did say that you were going to sort of tidy up the towns a little bit, you know, make them look a little bit less sort of samey in that respect. I mean, I think the towns are great, but to have that different experience when you go from town to town, for some it almost feels like you're just going to the same town.
It's true. The beauty about early access is, as you've mentioned, there's infinite possibilities for us to add new areas, especially that have some sort of special effects, like what you said, radiation or poisoning or whatever. And that was gonna what you basically said with the map expansion, and that was gonna lead into my last question. Basically, is I want to know what you guys would want to see changed currently. If you had the power to magically snap your fingers and change something about that's already in the game, what would you guys do? So let's start again with top class. Yeah, did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I did, but at the same time.
Yeah, I asked if there was one thing that you could change, like snap your fingers and something is changed within SCUM currently, what would you change?
Oh yeah, the way that it plays with like a lot of people, like I thought.
You mean optimizations or?
You know what I mean, like the optimizations.
That wasn't really the thing I was asking. Like, currently with the features and everything, what would you change? I mean, optimizations, really.
I wouldn't change anything.
There's nothing that's bugging you.
I wouldn't change anything. Man.
Really?
No. There really isn't.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you feel that way. That really shows us how much you enjoy the game, and that's great.
That's it.
Well,
Game's completed. Job's done.
No, I mean, sure, things can improve, but I mean, I do love that you guys are putting a lot of work in, you know, and
Well, I mean, it's nice to be appreciated, is what I'm saying. Like, considering you don't want to change anything, that really says a lot. And considering you don't want to change anything, do you at least like the direction that we're going in?
Yes, I do. I love the direction. I mean, I think the game, man, it's made a lot of progress since it started.
Especially last year, since we started working there.
Oh man, huge.
Yeah, I still remember when we started working there, and we started playing it, and seeing it back then and seeing it now, it's like a totally different game. And just like with what Rick had mentioned, with the small changes that make the game more immersive, like the nighttime sounds, the nighttime look, the lighting change, the shadows and everything, it just brought SCUM to a next level of immersiveness, and I can't help to shit my pants every time I go into a bunker and hear that beeping noise. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's quite terrifying. That is quite
Yeah,
nerve-wracking.
exactly. And that's why I started
"Oh,
appreciating
God,
bows
yeah."
more, because they require less resources, but you can take them down from afar without making too much noise, and they're a lifesaver.
What, what would you say? What would you say about the current new mechanic that's been implemented recently, which is awareness and looting? So, for example, you're looting a house, and you know a lot of people are saying that the puppets can. I mean, even for myself when I'm playing, like whenever I'm looting a bunker, for example, there's mechs above me following me around because they can hear every single thing that I'm doing. I mean, I personally think they are too aware. And especially when you're looting houses, puppets can hear you from quite far away. Especially when you're looting. When in that respect, when you're looting, it shouldn't be. You know, if you're going to be realistically, if you're in that open world, you're going to be quiet. You're not going to be making loads of noise, especially when looting and opening doors and stuff like that. Because I know you've actually got that implemented with the stealth system, obviously with the sound and everything like that. But a lot of people are saying that the awareness is set.
Well, I mean,
a little
that's
bit too
one of
high.
those things. Like, we've implemented it, we've tested what we could and fixed all of the issues so we can release it safely, and then we get the feedback from our players, from our community, and then make changes as necessary. And we've already reported it and made some changes in our own internal build, so it should feel more realistic than it does now. But that should help you loot around more stealthily and stuff. But it also, I want to mention, considering the camouflage skill and stealth skill now are really important when it comes to hiding, and especially if you're sprinting around everywhere, of course, and depending on the amount of gear you're wearing, you're gonna make a lot of noise, especially if you're sprinting everywhere. So we have to find the fine line where it's realistic, but it's not as arcadey as you mentioned, that puppets can hear you from, I don't know, a kilometer away, or if you're just sprinting somewhere. But yeah. Yeah.
That would be quite far away.
Exactly,
You're
yeah.
making a lot of noise. You'd be an idiot.
Well, maybe
You'd be
that's
an
what we
idiot
should
to
do
that.
when people carry around like a shit ton of metal scraps and just go ka-ting, 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 wherever they go.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Juxto, what would you like to change currently about SCUM, if you could?
So I don't like you that much, so there's a few things.
Wow, a
that
few.
I would like to
Okay,
change.
okay. I see it.
So
Harsh.
Wow.
one thing.
She
That
said she liked you.
no, I'm joking. I love you.
Yeah, now I don't
Oh,
believe
she
her.
loves you now.
Now I just don't believe her.
Okay. So one thing that I would like to change is recently I know that we removed any type of warning about bombs and mines and anything of the sort to let you know that there's a bomb around. And I've been blowing up a lot lately, and it's been getting on my nerves a little bit. So of course the way that it was a bit OP because the alert system on telling you where a mine was worked vertically at any level you'd be able to find it, but radius wise horizontally it was working okay. So it'd be nice to have something back that lets you know about some kind of bomb, because there's just nothing at the moment, and now the awareness skill is almost useless when it comes to bombs. Another thing I'd change is I only play vanilla servers, not a fan of anything else, official servers, and the loot tables, it's almost impossible to find guns at the moment unless you're raiding. So we have done D4 airfield, we've done the C3 bunker, the other ones too, and we're just not finding really much loot at all. You get like maybe a single gun, but you don't get ammo for it, and you can't find a mag. And so the best real play style at the moment is to get a hunter rifle and trying to murder somebody with some gear that way. So I've noticed that on the vanilla servers, the loot tables are a bit broken. You're more likely to get a rubber band in the bunker at the moment. Another thing I'd change is with the mechs. If you hide in a bush, the mechs see through bushes, and the way that the sound's working at the moment, it, like Ray said, if you're down below in a bunker, the mech will hear you upstairs, where, you know, realistically there's like, what, 3 feet of dirt, so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to hear you like running about and whatnot. And the same with puppets too. If you're downstairs in a bunker quite deep underground, the puppets will hear it and they'll, you know, get all crazy and start running about like madmen or mad women. And Another thing I changed is I've noticed that the sound at the moment's a little bit strange when you're running about, but you still make more noise looting a cooker. So that's another thing that is annoying, especially where I live in the city all the time. If I'm running about, I won't really trigger any puppets. I'll loot a fridge and I've triggered 20 puppets a mile away. Bit of an over-exaggeration, but you get my point. And that's really it. I just think the awareness skills should play a bit more into hearing, well not hearing, but being alerted about bombs again. Just because I really only build a PvP character, so I have my awareness stuck as high as it can go. And it would be nice to have more use of that rather than just being able to hear where people are, because obviously bombs are so bloody annoying.
Yeah.
Damn loud things.
They're freaking scary.
Okay, that's a lot of shit to go through.
Yeah, so change it.
Well, I mean, thankfully it's one of those things that we're already working on. As I've mentioned to Rakit, we are working on fixing the stealth and awareness things when it comes to being alerted to other AIs and stuff. And when it comes to bombs, I can give you guys a leak. Please don't share it because this is a private conversation. Yeah, we're working on a new type of interaction with the bombs, and it will make them a bit more challenging to, how should I put this? A bit more challenging to work around, if you catch my drift. And
could you disarm them and take
I'm not gonna say anything more. You got enough.
You're making it more difficult. What?
Not more.
That's not
No,
what
you disarm it.
I
and you
didn't
steal
say
someone
we're
else's
difficult. I
explosive.
just said
Right.
we're gonna change it so it feels better. But yeah, with the awareness, I see your issues, and I could propose some changes to the higher ups just so we can see what can be done.
Okay,
So
awesome.
yeah. And Rakid, you already said what you wanna. What would you like to change in the game? So.
Fire-breathing dragons!
Well, I mean the
No, I'm just,
the,
I'm-
mod,
I'm just-
the modders
I'm
can do
just- I'm
whatever
just kidding.
the fuck they
I'm
want
kidding.
after we release the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's fire-breathing dragons somewhere within the game's lifetime. So yeah.
I mean, there's a
I personally, if anything, like, because I didn't actually answer your question, sorry, because I talked too much. I didn't actually answer what features would I
feature?
like to change
Yeah, currently.
currently in the game. Is that there's not necessarily, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go through realistically. Like if you were to have pre-fortifications, not base building, but buildings. I think a lot of time and effort has gone too much onto base building and too little on pre-fortifying buildings. So, you know, for example, you've got your door on a house, you put your 3 gold blocks on it. One of my admins, one of the admins that I know on the server that I play on, he had a great idea. Have, like, you know, like a shutter that you have on a shop. Have something small like that fits onto a single door, right? They'll have to get through that shutter. Once the shutter lifts up, they would have to literally try and lockpick. But as they're lockpicking, someone inside could have a battery and a couple of cable card connectors attached to the lockpicks. So as they're lockpicking, they don't just lose their fame, because this is the balancing with the lockpicking. Right now, people are raging and rage quitting when they get raided because they've spent so long on a base but people lockpick too fast. Which the balance isn't, you know, there's not much penalty other than losing fame. If you've got 1,000 fame, you can sit there and lockpick all day long. So if you had like a cable with a battery, attach it to a door, when people try lockpicking it, they could get electrocuted, take down half their health. There's a chance of something like that happening. Because I used to base build, but I do love having the option of having a house, having my own house, but having it a lot more safer than what it is now, because right now I think players have that issue where they log out and they know they're going to be raided by the morning. All you need is someone to lockpick, and even if you've got a load of mines around your door or your house or whatever, they're going to take them out one by one, even if it's grenades or something else, which doesn't really protect it. But originally what I thought was going to happen was that these IEDs would be inserted into the doors that you can attach to the doors. So when people go to lockpick it, another way of protecting your door, while you're lockpicking, there's a chance that that lock could explode and will kill you. And at the same time, you can't just use one of your friends who comes in naked, not cheats, but comes in naked and goes to lockpick that door and then wastes his health or something. You know, you have to have a character that is good at lockpicking. So that's just one of the things that I think would be good to see with the pre-fortifications. I think way too much time has been spent on base building currently, and it has taken development back several months or even more since it came out around, when was it? When was base building?
No,
January
it was
2019?
June
Something like that? Or was it June 2019? That's it, because the cars came in on the 14th of December or something, wasn't it? It's 2018. That's it. So I think something like that would be quite beneficial to people. I think, like I said, you know, I can't reiterate it so much, but I think too much time has been spent on base building. And if you are going to have the base building, have more items so people can defend their bases, so they can protect it, rather than just using like palisades or even metal palisades. I know we had that discussion a long time ago, which is great to see that in the game, because you kind of have, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, no one's going to just get into it really quick. That's just one thing, but the other main thing that I would like to see is character customization. Because at the moment everyone looks the same, and there's if you're in a squad, everyone still looks the same. It's nice to have that ability to look different, and for people to notice you from 100 foot away. So I don't know what character customization that you guys would end up putting in, what different types of, you could choose a certain crime as you go into the game, because obviously that was a part of the law, having an addiction as well. I think customer characterization is something a lot of people are looking after, because that's a big fun part, because they can spend 10 to 20 minutes creating that character, and then they're going to spend time on it within the game as well. They're going to look after that player. But if you spend 5 minutes doing it,
you get more attached to your character.
You get more attached to it. You want to look after your
Well, the
character
plan
like
for
that.
the character customization in the future is basically do it RPG style with tons of sliders and shit. Currently, this was the best system for us, since we didn't want to spend too much time developing the system currently, since people can have just pre-made characters and be happy with them. And that's one of those things that are primarily cosmetic, and currently would not add too much to the gameplay, so they are kind of low on priority. And currently we want to push as much gameplay content as we can, because we hear our players, they feel the game is sometimes empty, and if they can't think of any of their own goals, they quit the game, because there's nothing realistically for them to do in the game. So yeah, I can see where that character customization thing is basically coming from. And I'm glad you mentioned it. So yeah, the future is looking bright for character customization when it comes to character customization. So
Yeah, that'd be something I'd look forward to anyway, personally.
okay, so if nobody else has any,
Oh, sorry. One thing. What would your answer if I was to say 4-digit code locks?
Since one is a Rust,
oh, here we go.
sorry.
Not okay. Jackson.
Okay, other than locks. Okay, I'll change the question. Other than locks, what would be other ways to lock down a pre-fortified building? Like I was saying before about the shutter situation, like you could craft the shutter.
I mean, we do
There's
have
no
some
lock
ideas,
there.
but I can't talk about it at the moment, because it's still like we haven't even discussed what would be possible to implement, and then later on we can actually figure out what we want to do with anti-rating methods. So we have talked about it, but we just can't talk about it here, sadly. Yeah. Okay, now on to
No, that's
the
fair.
second segment where you guys ask us questions. Basically, either you ask me or Christian anything about relating about the game, about us, or whatever. Feel free to go, and we could just start with like questions from the chat. Considering Top Class isn't streaming, he can pick questions from our own chat so we can answer. So Top Class, if you're ready, feel free to go.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
I'm looking to wait
I
for
mean,
questions.
you should find at least a backlog of questions since the start of the stream.
I'll
Yeah,
put it there.
you'll get your turn, Ray. You'll get your turn.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay,
actually.
let's
That
just
way
go
people
in
can
order.
follow the
Then
chat.
Juxto, feel free to go.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah, it's
scroll
okay.
up, so give me 2 seconds. Oh, I had one saying about whether the hunting scope will be able to be placed on any gun like it is realistically. I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah,
but
I
that was
don't know
something
how
was
accurate
asked in
that
my
is
chat.
either. But for what I know, the hunting scope is made exclusively for the hunting rifle, and that's why you can only use it on the hunting rifle. And considering people can use larger scopes than the hunting rifle, I don't see why they would want to use the hunting scope exactly for other guns and snipers.
Somebody else wanted to know if we're going to be able to grow fruits and vegetables
Yeah,
later on in the
agriculture and farming is planned for SCUM, and I could see it like you needing to actually maintain the crops and everything just like you would in real life, but of course in an expedited process. So basically just, you know, playing farming simulator but in SCUM. Who knows, the tractor might come in handy there as well. They might become more valuable vehicles instead of just loud, clunky inventory machines. Any other questions, Juxta? You're breaking up a bit.
Oh,
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, how's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, it's push to tools. Bloody shit. Are you going to implement a bleeding system? Like instead of losing health, you lose blood, and there'll be blood trails. So you don't, please don't make me bandage every, 1 HP damage. So will there be, you can follow a player to see where they've gone because they've left like a big old trail of
Yeah, that's actually one of those things that I would like to
Yeah.
see. Like the current hunting system for animals that we have actually be implemented on players. Because I've personally been in a lot of situations where I've shot a player and they were just faster than me and I lost their trail and I couldn't follow them anymore because I was so slow. And then that blood trail thing would be interesting. I don't know about the whole bleeding and blood loss part. It does sound interesting and it sounds like something we could implement, but I can't confirm whether we will or we won't. So, yeah. Any more questions, Jax?
Yep. Are they thinking of adjusting flags so that friendly flags to overlap a little or connect somehow would be nice? Those little sections that are unowned are
What do you mean those little sections that are unowned?
so
Yeah.
like flags, you can't have like more than one flag in the radius. So if there'll be a way to have it so that they connect, so there isn't
Yeah.
a gap.
Wait, Christian,
missed.
what did we talk about this thing? Were we gonna like limit the number of flags to one so that doesn't happen, or what? I forgot.
Yeah, we didn't want to allow people to go overseas for now. We might expand the rule later, but if it's gonna get clogged up really fast. When we didn't have a wipe for a couple of months, people got a lot of bases and got really clogged up. I mean, yeah, of course, it would be nice for people to have connected bases, but squad or kind of make a sort of advantage for.
Yeah, and I could
playing
see a future system where you have a clan and then you have a clan flag, for example, and then that's the flag of your clan, and you can probably, as your clan levels up, you can probably increase the radius of the flag area if you would like. But that's something in the very distant future.
Maybe a flag upgrade
Exactly.
of some sorts, so you get a little bit more range.
What about
What?
flag limitations? So,
Well,
what about
that-
flag limitations? So rather than one person can take over like 50 different places, why doesn't each character have like a limit of how many flags they can actually
Well,
place?
that's what we
So it
said.
doesn't-
The idea is for one
Yeah.
person, one clan to have one flag. Yeah, and then
Just one.
and then hopefully expand it through
So
some
what-
sort of system that we implement.
So once you're squadded up, you can only anyone can
No,
only
the
use
whole
one
squad
flag.
can use one flag.
Get what you mean?
So
Okay.
Imagine if there was a squad of like 7 people, every
they can
one of them
overlap.
can use one flag.
yeah, they can
Yeah,
basically
but-
overtake a quarter of a sector with that method, and then people will be able to raid them so easily. But I can see having like a single clan or a single person flag that you can expand through some sort of system would be a good idea. At least for in the future. And that's why we've enabled single players to place multiple flags, so they can patch up some of the holes that they have. But either way, it's not very beneficial for you to build such a huge base because you need to maintain it, and then SCUM just becomes a toolbox farming simulator 2020, and nobody wants that. So yeah. Top class, did you get any questions from our chat?
Yeah, people are wondering when RPGs
Oh,
are
with the
if
RPGs.
they're able to, if they're going to be able to deal with next. Yeah, man, I know it's a positive.
Exactly.
Dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun.
the RPGs. All I can say is the model is finished. I don't know when the programming bit is going to be implemented, but I don't know how soon that will be. Yeah,
That
exactly.
definitely will be a lot of
Especially
fun.
with with some developer help, if you know what I mean. I can't wait to see what those RPGs are going to do to some base elements.
Holsters? Will
Yeah,
we get holsters for
holsters
weapons?
are one of the things that we plan to implement in the next big update, and it's going to be related mostly
Nice.
to weapons. Yeah, sure.
You know what I think would be cool, man? If you could craft like a hand glider, or maybe chop up a body and craft a spin suit so you jump out from the top. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah, that would be cool. I don't know. I don't see how the engine will handle it. But let's start off first with a parachute, and then we can maybe talk about flying wingsuit or whatever.
I don't know, I'm getting Fortnite vibes there.
Well, I
What's
mean, the idea is for new prisoner to be dropped onto the island in the future. So, I mean, it.
In a
Well,
capsule
either a
or something
pod or
like
just knocked out of a plane, depending on what we actually want to do. We still haven't
Yeah.
figured part of that lore out. We still wanna make it have sense with the
course.
lore as well as a new gameplay mechanic. And no, it's not gonna be like Fortnite where you drop down and loot a legendary M16, and you're gonna chop trees for wood.
So,
Shit.
sorry, some sicko in my chat just decided to say, could we make a wingsuit out of skin?
Well, that's something.
Sounds quite disgusting.
Well, that's something Top Class literally mentioned.
That's basic.
The whole Scuffers community are spitting at you right now. That is disgusting.
Exactly.
I just said.
I worry about your. I worry
That's
about
literally
your
what Top Class
well-being,
just
but-
said. Yeah.
Like cut up a body and grab it, craft this fucking wingsuit out
Hey,
of
just
skin.
flying
I
across the
can
world.
show you the world.
It's fun.
Yeah, I know.
This is so
Exactly.
awful.
The extent of SCUM is your own
Is-
creativity. So yeah. But yeah, Jux, any questions from your chat? Left?
Yes. So we've got a couple here. Will mechs ever run out of ammo? And one from me. Will their weird pathing be fixed?
Yeah, we are
in
working on
terms
the Sentry AI at the moment, buttons, and because they are a fucking pain in the ass. And thankfully, after we've played the game in the office for a couple of days, back in January, a lot of other people figured how much of bullshit mechs currently are. So that's why they got bumped in priority when it comes to developing. And what was the other question?
It was about ladders. Will ladders be
You mean,
added to the admin?
Stackable ladders.
So you can literally stick them up on the side of the building and climb in a window if somebody's not barricaded it.
I thought you were the one that said that
That's
SCUM
it.
isn't Rust.
Yeah, this
No,
is
okay,
that's fine.
sorry. But it would be cool because you do see people that don't barricade their windows, and that is a feature of this in the game that should be used. If you have a base and you don't want people to climb in, then you should, block them up naturally, because obviously, there is a lot of ways you can walk along the side of somebody's wall and climb in an open window anyway. So it would be nice if you.
You're breaking up again.
It's just this push talk. It's just poo-poo. But it would be nice if you could create a ladder that could put up against the side of a wall, climb up. But obviously have them so that they take quite a lot.
Yeah,
of
but then you think about we add that thing. Everybody knows they're a thing now, and then they're gonna start barricading their all of their windows.
You'll be surprised at how many silly people build silly
Well,
bases
yeah,
in this game.
I can't definitely say that I haven't played as much as you two have, so I don't have the idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that really don't look around and see how you can get in. The amount of bases that we've got in just from jumping from one balcony to another, or jumping on the other roof of another building and climbing it that way, it would, basically, I just want to exploit the people that build that.
You cut off again, sorry.
Oh, for God's sake. I just said that it would be nice to exploit the people that build
Well, I mean,
badly.
technically you can still do that, but I see why you would want those types of ladders into the game. Because I personally went into some people's bases by just jumping on the roof of another house and then jumping on the balcony that was unlocked. It was hilarious. Okay, Raken, now on to you. Do you have some questions from your chat?
Yes, I do have a few questions from the chat. So one of them would be, will Puppets ever run out of stamina?
Well, since they're controlled through the BCU by the Tech One Corporation, they control their muscles, so they don't have any stamina technically. They're just running and killing for sport. I don't know. I don't know if you've seen zombies in
Okay, that's
movies
cool.
run out of stamina ever. Like check out World War Z. Those zombies are insane. Exactly.
That does look awesome. They actually filmed a part of that film where I live. But
Really?
just down the road to me. I was going to say hi, but I don't think I'd be allowed to. So I didn't end up going. So the second question is, will people actually have animations to pull their hands
The
down?
hardest hitting questions in SCUM ever. Yeah, it's gonna be implemented somewhere in the
Secure
future, but
communication with
it's
human asset
currently not one of
established.
those things that
Greetings,
actually
human asset.
is on the priority
Welcome to
list.
SCUM
I think
Island
it's just
tutorial protocol
a
provided by
nice-
the Tech One
it's just a-
Corporation.
Yep.
My
humorless
designation
feature.
is Dual Energetic Entity Neural Appliance, or DINA. I am an artificial intelligence created by the Tech One Corporation tasked with overseeing the SCUM show protocols, including the preparation of human assets. If you wish to activate the tutorial, please do so on your journal interface. Secure channel closed.
Yeah, you were asking about light machine
Yeah,
guns.
light machine guns are going to be implemented at some point, and I mean, how would you like to see them implemented? Would you like them more for PvP or more like for base rating, considering their usual high caliber?
Well, it depends. That's going to be just down to the player on how it's used, but I would use it for PvP. Maybe a small stepping stone between having something between having a hunter and maybe an M16. There isn't really many middle ground weapons. It's either really poo, like the hunter, or you're straight into military grade weapons. So we call it a light machine gun
stationary light machine gun for defending your base, or like a movable one that you can actually use for raiding and for PvP?
One can move. I think when, well then, I don't know, some people are going to have different opinions to me, but I think that having it, being able to walk around with it would be good. I think having anything crazy like a base defense with a machine gun on top could get kind of crazy.
Mounting it on a vehicle would be cool, though. So we could defend
Yeah,
ourselves
that
with
would be
vehicles.
awesome. But yeah, we were actually talking about maybe implementing armored type vehicles into the game that you can maybe, I don't know, take some metal scraps and put it on a pickup truck or whatever, and then adding an LMG to that beast would be insane. Something
Good on
your
that.
road, that would be epic.
Well, the thing is, it's adding another mechanic, isn't it? It's adding more things for people to aim for as well. So it'll give people something to do. They find a car, they want to do it up, they want to put a gun on top of it.
And by getting out would be quite an issue. Those LMGs can eat up quite all around.
Yeah, and when you got the light machine guns, if you're using something like a N249 or a GMP, general purpose machine gun or something like that, you're going to be going through ammo so fast. Unless you're on a server that has like unlimited ammo, you're gonna literally burn through it. There would literally be no purpose other than just wasting ammo. Unless you've got it on a vehicle and you have a certain amount. But you know what I mean? Because the ammo's not it's not out there unless people saved up for weeks or they're raiding or something like that. Because at the end of the day, it's a survival game, right? So you're not going into a bunker, you're not looking at coming out completely fully geared. And you do get players on the forums and they're like, hey, I just played this game for the first time and I'm not going to play it anymore because I didn't find anything in my first bunker. But obviously you do get them sort of players as well, but they've got to understand this is a survival game, not I'm not going to get everything in 5 minutes.
But as Jax already mentioned before, the loot is kind of all over the place at the moment. It's basically all relying on RNG, and we want to make it so it's more dynamic. Because of course we can understand the frustration of newer players, especially, and considering we're going to be adding more threats to bunkers and military POIs, that's going to make the place more threatening. We've already started with the suicide vest puppets, and they've really made it a lot harder to actually go in and loot the bunker yourself. So adding more variation for loot, and adding a new system that will be more dynamic and take into account what you have and then what you have looted. Maybe if you loot an AK-47, you're gonna start finding more attachments for the AK-47, maybe another mag, maybe a red dot sight, maybe a suppressor or something that would help players gear up a bit more realistically and to counteract the amount of work they put into looting. So that's the kind of system we are striving for. Of course, it's not currently at its best, but we're working on it, and hopefully we'll get there someday.
I got another question, which I'm quite interested in myself. Somebody asked about hordes of zombies or puppets. So, will there be more puppet increase or hordes of puppets? I personally really like puppets. I think they're a bit of a nuisance, which makes it really interesting. It'd be cool to, if you enter a town, there is about a group of like 10 to 15. Having more threatening, making it more difficult to kind of run around. Because sometimes where I usually stay in the city, there'll be no puppets, and then there'll be like 4 puppets, and then none again. It would be nice if there was a continuous flow of puppets or groups of them.
Well, yeah, the first thing we gotta talk about is optimizations, because when you have that many bodies in a single place, the physics just goes nuts. So you can even see yourself when you're, for example, in single player, and then you spawn like 20 bears. They're gonna start walking over each other and do a lot of weird stuff. And putting that amount of stress in that particular part of the map where the player is, where it's rendering, we gotta first make the puppets more optimized. We gotta improve their AI, so the boards do make sense and they behave like they would in a board. And then lastly, the optimization so we can actually pull something like this off. Because that amount of physics in a single location isn't a good idea at all. But yeah, personally also I would like to see boards of puppets just roaming around. Now that we're on the topic of puppets, are there anything that you would add to the current puppets? Something like the one that we did with the suicide vest, like some variation of the puppet that you guys would like to see. Top class? Dude, you having mic problems
Top
there?
class.
I can see the green circle that is talking, but you can't hear him. Okay, let's move on to... Ah, okay.
This push to talk, I swear to God. If they had, like, you know, weapons or something, like blades or whatnot. You know, kind of like the art.
So basically, just puppets, but with guns and swords and shit.
Or if they're swiping at you, like, you know, swords and shit.
Yeah, but how
Nice.
would you explain
Cool.
it? Like, how does a puppet end up with, I don't know, a sword for a hand or something?
Mutation.
Basically.
Mutation. Just magically do some metal.
Yeah, those
It's not
comes
like
with the
that's
reason.
funny.
Exactly.
Sword for an arm.
Yeah,
That'd be
that
cool,
would be
man.
cool.
Unless other people did it too.
Not swinging it.
Yeah, exactly.
Katana arm.
So, Jax, what about you?
I'd really like to see the puppets be able to grab onto you and bite. So if you get too close to one or they've swiped onto you, they can actually grab your arm and start gnawing down. And then, you know, that would have to be then something that you try and fix. I'd really like to see something like that in the game. Rather than you just beating the puppet and waiting for it to fall over and beating it again, it would be cool if the puppet could grab you. And then if you get pinned in a corner with four, they all kind of start grabbing at you, grabbing at your limbs, start biting you. Then you've got to deal with gangrene or something if you get it. You know, obviously this will be when the new metabolism system comes in place, but having to properly treat wounds if you've got an open one with a needle and thread, things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
scary.
I was just thinking about the same thing. But yeah, you're talking about more of that Last of Us? Like, you know, have you played Last of Us? Yeah, so basically what you're talking
Yeah.
is if puppets notice you, they jump at you, they lunge at you, and then you have to either break out or chop them up or something so you don't get hurt too much.
Another thing that would be cool is to have different animations if you're melee fighting puppets. So, say for instance, you can have a special animation if you smack it over the head with a baseball bat, or different. I don't know what word I'm looking for. It's just different animations when beating the shit out of puppets.
Well,
with
yeah,
melee
technically
weapons,
there
basically.
is a system already in the game. Like if you look down while you're hitting a person with a bat, you do an overhead slam, and there's a greater chance that you will actually stun them and knock them down to the ground. So there's something like that already in the game, but for the future, as far as I'm aware, there's plans to add martial arts and like different
Yeah, we want Kung Fu,
and different
apparently.
weapon masteries.
Kung Fu.
So there's gonna be a lot of new animations when it comes to that, and probably like I don't know if you guys have you seen the game Mordhau, the new like medieval fighting game.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
I think
probably
it's pretty
imagine
cool.
something like that system where depending on where you actually swing your mouse, that's where you'll actually swing in the game or something like that. I mean, we of course don't know yet still because that is something far in the future, but something like that would be interesting. Like, would you like to see something like that, Raykit?
Yeah. I'd personally like just with the puppets. The only thing I would change with the puppets is being able to shoot them and then then shooting them one of the limbs, shooting them kneecap, then they go down. They start crawling on the ground. You know, and they're literally doing everything they can to get to you. They will crawl with one arm if they have to. Something like that. Being able to shoot an arm off with a high caliber pistol or something, or rifle. Just being able to stop all of them running at me at the same time. It's kind of overwhelming when you come across a lot of zombies you do get kind of overwhelmed with everything. You want to be able to shoot one, take that one down in the kneecaps, shoot the other one in the head, shoot the other one in the arm, so he can't grab you or something. But most importantly, having like a finishing move. A lot of people can ask what the finishing move. So if you've got a knife and you just creep up behind a puppet, you can, or even a player, you can have the same sort of animation. Because at the minute we can look, so why can't?
Yeah.
Why can't that?
You by the finishing move you mean like a stealth kill?
Yeah,
Like
a,
you come around
like
from the back and put a knife through their throat or something.
Yeah, like a guaranteed kill. So like if I was to sneak up to a player who's just sitting there or lying there, you know, sniping, and I sneak up right behind him, he's got no chance. The knife's going to do all the talking. But, you know, rather than making, basically like silent kill, having a silent kill, rather than having to use a shotgun, use a silent pistol, because people can still hear those from quite far, and then sort of go from there. That would be really cool to see something like that.
It might be harder to implement because of the third-person camera, since Call of Duty has something similar, but Call of Duty is only a first-person game, so it does work with them. Since we have a third-person camera and adjustable fields of view, it might be harder to put in the game, since you will most likely be able to see the person kind of sneaking up on you, even if they're looking straight
currently,
ahead,
as far as I know, the vision doesn't go beyond, like, behind you. Like, for example, when you get into a car and then a person goes behind the car, you don't see the person. At least that's how it was so far. But I mean, yeah, if as Ray had said, like
awesome.
if a person is laying down on the side of the cliff with a sniper, they're most likely down to scope, so they won't notice you either way. The only other thing I'm worried about is maybe the sound. Like, if you get like within 2 meters of a person and you're in a forest with lots of like leaves and sticks and stones and shit, there's not a lot of things you can do to make yourself more stealthy than before.
Yeah.
So,
but personally, oh, I don't
well, I mean, I can understand like if a person isn't paying attention, yeah, you should get punished for it. But currently, if you just go behind them and shoot them with a shotgun in the face, they will die anyway. But yeah, I can see how you would want maybe a stealth kill, a guaranteed stealth kill, that is, when you come up behind them. So yeah, what was the question?
No, I was just going to digress. I'm just
Yeah, exactly. That was actually the next part where you guys personally ask us questions, whatever, game related, us related, whatever.
Right, so this is going to be quite probably overwhelming for you guys, but these are going to be answers that the community really want to hear. Because it's going to be beneficial to you guys, and it's going to be beneficial to understand how things are going to work, and if certain things are going to be.
Just before you continue, can I just give you a warning, because there's some things that we can or can't talk about, and there's other things that we cannot know will those things be coming in or not. So keep that in mind. Well, there's certain things that we know that will come out in the future, but we don't necessarily know how they will look exactly. And there's other things that we don't know if they will come in the future, because maybe it's a feature that needs to be debated for it to be implemented. So I just want you to keep that in mind when you ask about these particular features that will be coming up.
No, of course. So one of the questions I have, one of my guys, and this is all constructive. This is all constructive in that respect. So one of the guys say, and I know more people want this answered as well. How could it happen that base building took so long to understand the core mechanics like metabolism and the sickness system? Why is there no improvements with the memory leaks and netcode? Which slowly but surely it is. We've got the new engine coming up. I can appreciate that. How do the devs want to motivate players to actually move across the map instead of sitting in their bases shoveling boxes? Why do so many work hours get invested into secondary mechanics like other, different features than rather on the core metabolism that makes
Yeah,
this
and that's
game
a very
unique.
simple answer. Is just those things require a lot less time to make than metabolism feature. And with as big as a feature as metabolism is, it's being worked on for a lot of time, and it's being worked on in the background, but there's just not enough, and we're not happy with it for release. So features that are usually
Yeah.
easier to implement and add something to the gameplay are going to be implemented before the other ones that are maybe a core feature or are going to heavily impact the gameplay. If one takes a year to
Yeah.
program code, test, and implement, and something takes a month, of course we're going to go for the
You're gonna
and
put
we're
like
going to
that stuff
slowly
first.
chip out from the
Yeah,
metabolism.
yeah.
So, for example, let's just say this is all figurative numbers. That, like, for example, the metabolism in 2019 was 0%, and then people have started
Yeah.
working on other things, and in the meantime, the metabolism slowly started moving up, because when there's a programmer free, especially if they're a senior programmer, they usually take on heavier tasks, like the metabolism, like the new inventory system or something like that, and usually they
Yeah.
do something in increments, and they just save it, and when they get more free time, they focus on that feature more. And that's why metabolism has been slowly cooking up through development, and it's ready to be released soon, actually. So
Because I know you guys are currently going on to the new engine, which is going to be a lot more beneficial
yeah,
for performance, and
yeah,
obviously bug fit wall where people are kind of like, hey, it still hasn't got metabolism. Why is this the case? That's a question that a lot of people are asking themselves. When is the metabolism aiming for? When is the deadline for? I mean, like, I know you guys can't give a date, but it would be nice to say, hey, you know what, it's going to be done by this month, and then at least people know to some extent when they're getting this, because this is the core feature for this game. This is why 2 million people bought the game in the first place. And like I said, I'm putting the heat on it. I know I am. But this is what the
well,
players
yeah, and
want to hear.
they've already heard it in the development update video that we have, where Dini, our senior programmer, talked about switching to the new engine, and he even mentioned in the video approximately when the new engine comes out, you can expect metabolism within a couple of weeks, maybe a few months.
Right.
When the new engine comes out, it's gonna make a lot of things easier for us. We can implement many more things, and it will be easier to do and test a little bit. It will help
Exactly.
quite a lot of development.
I did remember you guys saying about that, yeah. No, and I completely appreciate and respect the response to that. That's good news for us, because we know that, once it's on the new engine, things are going to start to
Exactly.
speed up. Hence why I made that video about the Unreal Engine, saying, it is going to speed things up. People are absolutely dying for that. Okay, so if I could ask another
Yeah, okay,
question,
if
just
somebody doesn't want to
okay.
jump in, sure.
What I was going to ask was about the amount, obviously, with the new engine coming in, the amount of the current netcode of the game, the current netcode, and not everyone, from time to time, you get a fatal error, or a crash from the servers. This doesn't happen all the time, so for anyone watching this, it's not something that's consistent in the game all the time. It happens from time to time, but we're wondering when or if those errors will get fixed, or if you know why we're getting these errors.
Yeah.
So like
Most
a fatal
errors
error
that
or
people
something.
send us are usually engine related, because most of the fatal errors that we encounter, like with items or something within our game, they're more easily identified and fixed.
Yeah.
And when it's a crash relating to the engine, and that's why moving to the new engine will be so beneficial, because some of those fatal errors and fatal crashes
Yeah.
are caused because of some of the 4.20 Unreal Engine. So you can expect improved performance as well as less crashing when we release 4.24 to SCUM.
Of course. I'm personally very
Exactly.
excited for the new
And
engine,
it's-
definitely. Would you be bringing anything for... I'm not an admin personally, I know it's a different subject, but would you be bringing anything like the remote console for admins to be able to play with and be able to choose, not necessarily options, but ways that admins can actually look after their protect their servers better and to keep more of an eye on the players?
Probably not specifically server related, but we do want to give admins more quality of life stuff and more options to keep track of the server, and it will also help us to keep track of official servers.
Yeah, because I've heard a couple of times that some admins are saying that they would love to be able to talk to players via the droning game if they see someone doing something they shouldn't be, etc. Just being able to talk and hear what other people are saying if they are talking in game, because it currently doesn't have an audio. You can't speak really, can you, with that at the minute?
Yeah.
So
Of course, not just talking, but maybe like some additional features investigating possible cheaters or hackers or something.
Yeah.
Which would also help us look after a bit.
Okay. Awesome.
really,
My game, bro.
I've seen you merging. I've seen you merging through the floor, and I was just wondering what the hell happened. But yeah, yeah, sure, go.
I have questions. So I like to play the PvP evil side of the game, and I was wondering if there'll be more stuff implemented when it comes to kidnapping people. So if I find some guy that's just spawned in, I know that I can put a bag over his head, but I've had problems with trying to tie people up before. I don't quite know the details behind it, but some that I literally just can't tie people up. It'll be nice to also force feed people stuff like chemicals, force feeding them alcohol. It'd be cool to implement stuff like that. So basically, just so I can torture people. And sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on, we are talking about the game, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
There could be legal
Someone said that they
proceedings
changed the
after
whip.
this stuff.
Just briefly there.
We don't judge. We don't judge.
Another thing too is obviously my friend got hypothermia the other day, and I really couldn't do anything to help him. So it'd be nice if I could force feed him water and things, and maybe help him get out of his weird hypothermia state rather than me just pissing on him and hoping for the best.
That's a good question, Jax, though. Carry your mate on your back, get out of the situation.
Yeah.
Like, being able to... Yeah, dragging a teammate or putting them over your
Yeah,
shoulder.
and a great answer for that would be the new metabolism system will allow us to easily implement those types of things. And to answer your first question about kidnapping, the metabolism system will lay groundwork for us to add more negative effects to the game, like being poisoned, being malnourished, or something else, or maybe even exhausted. Who knows? And it could lay groundwork for those types of features, like maybe poison darts or tranquilizer cannons or something else that would enable you to immobilize a player and it actually having a effect on their character. And another thing that would coincide with one another is, for example, Raken, as you mentioned, carrying a teammate while they were down, and then maybe carrying a person that's been knocked out or poisoned or whatever while they're down as well. So those things could go on side to side. So yeah. Jackson, any more questions?
Yes, I do. So I really like the lore behind the game of it being like you're being watched on TV, so and so. I know that there was some rumours about the kill notification being removed, and I just thought wanted to know if there was anything more on that, because I quite like the kill notification. I think it adds in with the whole kind of faint points kind of lore kind of style. I think if people don't like that, then it maybe be a server option, because I really like the fact that when you kill somebody, it gives you that really satisfying noise, and then you get fame points, and then it really adds to the lore of being watching TV, and like you just wiped out another basically another what's the word? Prisoner.
I mean, as with other things, we're gonna add the option for private server owners to change that kill notification thing. But the idea was probably not to remove the whole kill notification thing, but you for example, you shoot somebody, and then you gotta go loot their body, and on their body you're gonna find their BCU with the information that they currently possess. So you're gonna find out their name, how old they are, and all the other good stuff. So it wouldn't be going away fully, but it would be part of the gameplay. So you would have to go loot the person, loot their BCU, so you actually find out who you actually killed. And it also
Okay,
makes more
good,
sense.
because
No,
I was worried it was
not
gonna
fully.
get
I can see it being implemented in that way, but I don't know if it will be removed personally.
Another thing I have to ask is about. Oh, I think I may have asked that. Sorry. Is about base building, because I know that
That's always a hot
base
topic.
building being removed. I really like base building, just because people build like shit, so it's
Wow,
usually quite easy to
calling out.
raid. You guys shit at building bases, get it together.
She
No,
said
but-
it here. Okay,
you know.
everybody improve your base building.
So there's always usually a way to get into somebody's base without necessarily
Or
using
exploit.
explosives or optics.
Just kidding.
Not an exploit, just some people like
Yeah, exactly.
you bring a tractor out and you
Yeah.
plant the tractor and you're in. So
You know what the
Well,
crazy consultants said that?
Trust me, we know.
Fucking crazy
We
guys
know.
Did we?
said that.
We've been
I love them.
All they did was cause so much pain for admins.
Christian
Because people were using
can
it
back
to
me up on this. We've been
everything.
advocating for them to be removed since we started fucking working there. As soon as we saw the first exploit, we were like, remove this fucking shit from the game, or it's gonna break everything. And finally,
And with every exploit that we fixed, like 3 more popped up, and then we fixed those 3, and just a vicious cycle. And like, come on, please guys, just remove it. We'll handle it at a later date. Just like make life easier. on us.
Exactly.
It takes us a lot
and
of time.
you can't even imagine like how much pleading it took for us to remove that fucking sledge. Because I mean, the programmers are of course proud of it because the sledge is an item and a vehicle at the same time, but how broken it was, it just wasn't worth the effort.
I mean, it will be added later on in the game. We do like hearing stories of people having sled races down mountains and stuff, but yeah, it gave us more
Yeah,
headaches
exactly.
than joy.
I have another question. Shit, I've forgotten it. Hang on. That's
You have
really
a top
annoying.
class
You
moment.
want to have a look?
Oh wow, the man came prepared.
Oh my god, I literally just had it in my.
Oh
I have no notepad.
wow. Okay, in the meantime, top class, do you have any questions or are you still vibing?
Mine okay.
Come on, you can think of something. I believe in you. You're Okay, good.
Oh, I got it. Right.
Just go.
Sorry, just writing it down so I don't forget it again. So, I do a lot of online raids, and one thing that pisses me off is people spawning back on. It doesn't piss me off, but I think it's a little bit weird. Is if you've just died, like being able to spawn straight back in the shelter and get your loot. Will there be something implemented that is almost like a I don't know what it would be, like a timeout zone, so you can't spawn where you've just died within, like, say for instance 2 minutes, because it's a little bit annoying if you're doing an online raid and the guy's ordered up 400 points and you've just got to do like 4 goes of him just respawning back on his shelter. Yeah, so will there be something implemented where he can't just keep fucking spawning inside? So not a new life rule, I don't know what it would be, like almost the sector being greyed out so you can't spawn there if you've just died there.
Can I add to your question?
Of
It's
course.
It's pretty much the same thing. Can I just add that to you guys? Just bear with me 2 seconds. My internet is being shit on my phone right now, and this is not good because I need information. No, here we go. I've got it. So to add to that, something. There's only so much you can give to server admins to turn things on or off. The game should be one way or the other, in certain respects. So basically someone said, I think to keep it simple and an even playing field, it should be random when you die for a player or a player mind. Players want balance, especially in a game where getting killed sets you back. No one should ever have to kill the same guy in the same fight or die to a guy you just killed in the same fight. That is something that people hate more than anything. When they come against a squad, and literally, most of the time, you have no faith that you're going to get any of that squad's gear because they're going to be spawning on each other every 5 seconds. From what I've seen from the very beginning of this game, is something that has helped to take that player base down slightly. Because the fights need to be fair. You kill someone, you need to be out of that fight for a considerable amount of time. Away from that fight, to enable that person to get that sense of achievement and the point of looting all that ammo, to use it wisely and not waste it. That's all
Yeah,
I
well, I mean, you've seen our strides with adding more limitations to respawning and giving server admins options to actually disable or enable respawning on certain areas. And what Jux mentioned with respawning on the shelter while you're raiding, that's one of the things we could look at to actually prevent. Like, for example, if a person is raiding your base and we somehow figure it out, that means you can't respawn in your shelter. The shelter was within a certain radius of where your base is or where your base is being raided. We could look at one of those things to hopefully fix it. But yeah, with the whole respawning system is just one of those things that we are gonna give admins as many options as we can so they can configure their server how we want, and we'll figure out the balancing for SCUM, the official game, for ourselves. So yeah.
because it is. I mean, I always stick to the same.
Yeah.
It's a survival game. In that respect, but I can appreciate giving the admins certain choices. But I do think certain things shouldn't be a choice, and people have to play the game the way it is. Kind of like, you've got this, you have to deal with it the same way we have to deal with, certain things in the game we currently have now. But that's definitely a concern for a lot of players. A lot of players is the whole not being able to, get the upper hand and then get killed by a guy they just killed. There's nothing more
Yeah, this type
frustrating
of
than
topic
that.
is always up to debate.
But like you say,
I mean, and I'm glad that we're talking about it considering how many we have here. So, Topclass, do you have any thoughts on the whole respawning thing? Considering you're mainly a PvPer?
Ow.
someone
Ah!
some food on that side.
What did you say, Topclass?
So they pretty much just covered all the
Well,
bases.
yeah, but is there something that you would like to see changed or something with regards to the respawn system? Do you agree that
Ah!
Well, I mean, it is kind of difficult when you have the squad respawn, like people spawning on each other right away after you kill somebody. You don't get much of a, especially as a soul. Yeah, it makes things kind of difficult to come out, on top.
It happens quite. It doesn't happen that much when you get a solo against a small squad or even a squad. And I'm not going to mention the name, but there's other games that do spawn you down by the coast or other places, which makes it a lot more fair for that fight.
Yeah.
But I do, I mean, that's something that, that annoys a lot of people. Because there's so many people mention that on Steam forums, SCUM Reddit forums, you guys know, you're always answering on there like absolute fucking bosses. And that's what people want to see. But that, for me, is a bit of, the game's great, but there's a couple of little letdowns, but they're quite big deals. But stuff like that shouldn't be happening where you're getting killed by the guy you just killed.
Yeah, I don't know.
That should
Christian,
not
did
happen.
you see anything about respawning in the forums recently? I don't know if I did.
It's always a hot topic. It always comes up sooner or later, and every once in a while. But I do agree with Ray, especially if you're a solo player coming up against a squad. The number advantage can seem really really against you. So we will most likely look at the respawning a bit better, so it's a bit balanced for solo versus squad players.
Yeah, this for me and a lot of the community is quite a big deal. Because, like I was saying, and I can't reiterate, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's the same thing. If you're getting killed by a guy just killed you, or if you kill a guy and then he kills you in the same fight, that's when people say, that's it, I'm out. I'm done. And that is, you know,
mostly all official server problem, since you can modify the settings on a private server. But maybe like modifying the cooldown on respawning, and maybe looking into if it's a base, if it's like if the bed is a flagger or something similar like that. That could be possible.
Christian, you broke up, or what did you say?
Adding maybe a bigger cooldown, or rebalancing the cooldowns of respawns, or maybe if the game looked into if the bed is in a base and maybe have a longer cooldown, or if it's a distance related thing. So something.
Yeah, I think that would work.
So if you're really close to a bed, or one point that might take long, or something like that.
even that would be a good idea. Someone just said in my chat,
What?
yeah, we raided someone, they spawned back in their base, obviously they killed them, they spawned back in their base and locked them in. And they were locked inside because of the spawn base.
That's why I think that that's why I think that there should be something added, that if you're online raiding someone and they died, that sector should be greyed out so they can't go back. Because I think that's really the only way to kind of stop people from just fripping, like, spawning back in and locking the door, or just picking up their stuff straight away and hiding it behind another door. It's, you know, pain in the arse a bit.
Some people are saying when you die that you can't spawn back in the sector that you died in.
That's what Juxta said. Yeah.
So you're out of, so you're completely, once you're dead, you're out of that sector. That gives that potential solo player the you know, the confidence that if he does take the squad out, he knows that his friends ain't going to be behind him ready to take him out again. And that is a, you know, again, a waste of ammo, a waste of resources on that situation. You could use twice the amount of ammo on the same player, only for him to come back and,
as we mentioned already, we will look into it at some point, and the beauty of early access is we can basically do whatever we want, and if there's, and especially, and this is one of the good things that we've started, where we get to interact with you guys and other people from the community and answer questions, because everything here in this stream will get saved, so we can always have this as inspiration for future content, and maybe remind ourselves what needed to be, or what needs to be addressed or fixed or whatever. And this is basically the whole part, and
of course. There needs to be sacrifice, you know. But there needs to be, if I die, this is it. I'm dead. I'm gonna lose my shit. At the minute, it's kind of like, hey, I can just spawn back in or do whatever, get my shit. You know, there's not much, not sacrifice. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Like invest.
Yeah, like time invested. And stuff like that.
Well, I mean, and I'm glad you guys are so passionate and outspoken about the issues that you believe that play the game, and that's what we're here to do, to listen and maybe answer some questions, so we can figure out a solution together and make the game better. So yeah, you guys got any more SCUM related questions, or should we move on to just spewing random shit?
Before we spew random shit, I've got just one question about events. This is like one of the last things I actually have. I know you're probably sitting there saying,
I mean, you're bringing content. I don't give a shit. I could just shut up and let you do the talking. Easier job for me.
Right, this is it. I'm in control. Shit.
Jux, behave yourself.
What the hell was that sound?
She's being.
Nothing?
Yeah.
You find your toys out of the pram, Jack.
Literally.
So, talking about events on the server, again, going back to the focus of the game, this is survival, right? And currently we've got within survival. If you guys want to agree with me, you can. Can't. Everything should have a balance of being fair. Right?
It's extremely difficult in a survival game for everything to be fair, especially since people who spend more time within the game will usually have an edge. So it's kind of tough to balance everything.
Yeah.
So I have to disagree with you on that.
Right. Okay. Well, most of the things within the survival game are fair. So let's just say you've got your big square map that we have now. open land, you drop 10 players on it, let them do what they want. That would be fair then, wouldn't it? Because everyone creates their own destiny,
kind of,
right?
but then you got a battle royale.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you got the events involved, obviously you got more people that, you know, stay online, whether they're at school, whether they're an adult that doesn't work, and they've got plenty of time to get their fame points up and stuff like that. Would you ever consider, and I don't know if it would be better for server performance and stuff like that, because I don't know how much netcode goes into the events separately while there is a survival game going on at the same time. But now that I noticed, obviously, with the events, you've now added more towns that people can get stuck in, because I'm quite passionate about that. There's been times where I've been playing and I've had to run an innocent guy out of the deathmatch with another player that I was about to kill, to get him out of there and warn him that you're in a deathmatch, get the fuck out. Because he's probably spent God knows how long doing that sort of stuff. But personally, I think it completely breaks immersion to have that. Maybe have it on a separate island, same map, but just when you do go to a deathmatch, have it off of the island. So then you have that one map specifically for the survival or where everyone's playing the game. And if you want to go and get a bit of extra fame, hey look, there's an island out there. You can do the death matches on there or whatever. But it's weird to mix the two. It's quite a weird thing. I know it's new, but it's quite weird to see two different games mixed into one going on the same
Well, we've
map.
had a discussion on this topic with our superiors last year, I believe, and the idea behind events is basically in-island entertainment, and especially adding that layer of risk if you're looting or sitting in a town that's usually event area. You either join the event to prevent yourself from dying, or you leave the area and you're okay. And that's why when you're in an event, you can't lockpick, you can't destroy the fortifications, you can't go through windows or whatever. You're basically just there to play the event. And they believe it makes the game feel more alive, especially if you're playing an event on a populated server and half of the houses are locked down. That changes the whole pace of the event because it's unique to that location. So you can't enter certain houses, you can't peek through certain windows because they're locked and fortified and there's no way of you getting inside.
But would you agree? Would you agree with me when I say that if someone's running around surviving, let's say they've been playing for an hour and a half or whatever, they've kitted a load of stuff up, they're in a death match. Well, they're in an area where a potential death match is, but they have no idea. They have no idea. And it's happened. I remember when it first happened to me, I shit myself. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And I know there are ways around it, the way you can do your coding or whatever it is you guys do to be able to have it so all the players that join a deathmatch can just simply ignore the people that are surviving in there. But would you agree that the death matches would break immersion for a survival game? Because it almost, because it's a great idea, but there's a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, not everyone, but I find it's a split decision. There's a lot saying push it on a separate island because I lose the immersive experience for survival, and some people are like, hey, I quite like the you know, the possibility of running into a deathmatch.
There's two sides to that coin, and one side is, yeah, I can see how it breaks the immersion for some people, but those people gotta know that you're on an island that's a game show, and they intend to place as much chaos on the island as they can to ensure more views. Exactly.
Or an air raid siren.
Yeah, and on the other hand, and that's part of the reason why the events aren't on a separate island or on a separate location than actually the island, because it would be hell for our game engine to handle. Because currently how it works, and for the people that have spent time in Golden Drones, know how the map looks like and see what's placed in there. So there's really not enough space, or not enough space, but there's no place we can place events that will make them disappear, and instancing is just at the moment not an option, sadly. But yeah, as I've said,
I think the air raid siren would work quite well, or something similar to warn players that they are in a deathmatch area, because you're always going to have someone. Deathmatches are usually in towns, right? So most people are going to be looting in them areas. So if they can get the warning, rather than, hey, what the hell happened? I've been playing for 2
Yeah,
hours.
I can see that we maybe make a notification, like, I don't know, John Dick comes up and then a notification pops up and saying, prisoner, there's an event coming up, blah blah blah. move your ass into the forest or join the event in the glory, blah blah blah. I can see that happening, and I could believe that it will happen somewhere in the future.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Make it more noticeable. People could think that it's not really noticeable in the corner of the screen. You barely even notice it. So maybe put it in the center or make a
Well,
longer.
I mean, yeah, but it pops up. Come on.
I feel terrible when I see a dead player in a deathmatch. There's nothing worse than going to a deathmatch and seeing a guy get railed, and that guy who went into the deathmatch knew fair well that that guy cannot kill that other guy. It's like a bunch of invincible players going in, and there's nothing
they can
that
join the
player
event.
can do. That player's just
To
lost.
save themselves.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, as a couple of people are saying in my chat, air raid siren's perfect because it's loud, it's noticeable. You're not going to ignore an air raid siren.
Well, I mean, yeah, but we don't want to have people that play SCUM have PTSD attacks every time an event starts. I don't see that as working. But yeah, a bumped up notification would be a good idea, and as Christian mentioned, it is something that we could look into adding possibly in the future, like just to make it more immersive and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of loud, man, that announcer with the countdown
that's John Dick.
It's about to end. That can get turned down a bit.
Really?
It's so loud.
Well, I haven't noticed.
Oh man, the last 30 seconds for me.
He starts counting down from 10.
Yeah, but he's so
I don't know.
loud,
That's me
is he
personally.
not?
Well, maybe because you're so quiet, so there's a disparity between.
I don't know, man. Every time he says there's so much time remaining, I swear, dude, my eyes cross every time.
I don't know, man. We gotta ask our sound guy about that. I don't know. Personally, it hasn't been too loud for me. You, Jux, rake it?
No, not to do with his voice, but in the city, I found a bit of like a sound, not a glitch, but audio levels being out. Birds, for some reason, fucking scream. They're so loud. They're like, in the city, and they're honestly like stupidly loud. I don't know what it is.
How's that going?
Yeah.
That's gonna be a clip.
Basically, the birds in the city, the audio level's a little bit out, and they're really loud, like louder than the wind. And if you're in the towers or the big apartment buildings, all you can hear is just birds like off their nut, just like going at it. And
The funny thing
like
is, it's not actually the birds that are making noise. It's been added as an ambient sound, like the wolves in the mountains or the crying babies near the haunted house. It's ambient.
Yeah, it is literally like there's
but me and Christian noticed it during our free play time that there's literally pterodactyls screaming at us while we were walking through a forest, like fucking annoying bastards.
We did get a report. Someone reported like, since when there are pterodactyls in the game? Like, what do you mean? And then we started playing.
Exactly.
Game, like, oh,
it was a beautiful moment of realization. Like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, the reverb and the echoes that were added to the puppets recently are amazing. And even though, especially when you hear them from far away, you don't know how many there are, and it makes you like, what the fuck do I do? Do I go in? Do I not? And then get drafted. But yeah, the beeping. Yeah, sure.
I have an idea.
No, go.
Sorry, go ahead. For events, I was just thinking for a cool new game type. I think gun game would be pretty
Yeah, I actually want to see that type of thing. With an RPG as the secret last weapon. But yeah.
That'd be
Yeah, I would like to see something like that too.
Just some different game in general.
Or maybe like
Not just
Yeah.
the stock standard ones.
Maybe like I would like to see personally capture the flag. Like we don't have like any other than cargo drop. We don't have any objective.
We do
Not
have
capture the flag. Sorry, domination. Domination. Sorry, I meant
Yeah, we have
domination.
that.
Like we have no. Yeah.
Oh, with 3 points?
Yeah.
Just to make it more.
That would work.
I don't know. More dynamic, so it's not just running and gunning like
You, my friend, look
going
like
for
somebody
the
who
flag
could use a bit
carrier
of
or
action.
going for the cargo
Came to
drop
the
and
right
camping
place.
till
I'm
someone
your
gets
host,
to the
John
cargo
Dick,
drop.
and welcome
While
to
in domination
SCUM.
you gotta be
Once
you
you're
gotta
ready,
move
be
more,
sure to
you
sign
gotta
up for one of our
capture the
mini
points, you
events.
gotta flank and
Challenge
everything
yourself
else, so
against other
it could be a
prisoners.
new
Team up and
dynamic
overcome
event
for blood and
location.
glory. Let's
And
get
imagine
this music
just
on to set
imagine
the mood.
domination on Mountain Glade. That would be a shit show. Like having the flags through the middle and on the same elevation, so neither people get advantage or disadvantage depending on where they're positioned. What? She stole your MRE?
How are you taking these?
Oh, she's stealing! Ooh! She probably has her inventory open and just munching on them. But yeah. So, you guys want to talk about some random stuff, some just random shit, so we take a break from talking about the game?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I've just got one more.
Yeah.
Everyone always says this, don't they? I've got one more question 3 hours later. One thing we haven't actually gone on, which is quite important, because obviously we had the dealer thing coming a few months back. What's going on with missions and NPCs for the missions? Is anyone currently working on this, or is it still
Missions
just
currently
an idea?
no, but the system is in there. So when we decide it's time for us to add more missions, not necessarily maybe add new NPCs and
Yeah.
AIs, but when we decide to add missions and make them have sense, we will add them because the groundwork is there. We just need to commit to that thing exclusively.
To that feature, right?
Yeah, I need
Okay.
to have like lore and,
Yeah.
and everything set up.
You guys
What do
get
you mean?
pasted here. I feel for you. They're just throwing questions, complete like one after the other. Here's quite an important question actually. When are we looking at another game mechanic being implemented into the game? Because currently people
Well,
are running out of things to do.
The most recent one that we're gonna add will be the metabolism, and then after that the big weapon update that,
Yep.
that should come with a lot of features that relate to weapons, like weapon jamming, weapon maintenance, shooting from windows, like opening the car door halfway through and then taking cover and that type of stuff. So yeah.
But what about what? I mean, obviously you get
Yeah.
players that play for 10 hours at a time here. I mean, half of that stuff people are going to do once, and then you know they're going to want to do something else. Like I know it can't all be implemented at the same time, but you know there's only so much you can do before you go.
Well,
Hey, I
yeah,
want
the
to do
metabolism system will keep you busy.
there's
Trust
some
me.
people. There's some. I mean. No, definitely, I completely agree with that. But there's people out there that don't base build. There's people that don't even touch base building, so their mechanics are completely limited to what they actually.
Well, I
can do.
mean, the people do what they want to do. If they don't want to do a certain thing, hey, calm down, you two. Come on. But yeah, I mean, people do what they want to do, and that's on them. If they choose to not do something, that's on them. So, if they don't like a certain element of the game and don't want to play it, then they can, and it's up to them, 100%.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's complete. That's fair. That's fair. I would just love to see the game go back to being more focused on survival and a lot of the features for the survival game, because I feel like over the last several months, the survival side has really sort of been pushed very slightly to the side, not fully.
I mean,
just
it
very
wasn't
slightly.
pushed to the side. It was
And
just
Survival.
we bumped up the priority of the engine because it will bring so much of good things to us that would improve development, and implementing the metabolism system before the switch to 4.24 would most likely require a lot of extra work to make it work in the new version of the engine. And that's what Dini, our senior programmer, explained
Yeah.
in the video where he talked about making the engine first and then moving on to the metabolism system. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
The metabolism is still of our top, probably like number one priority, which is not engine
Yeah,
or
after the
technical
engine, that's when the
Yeah.
metabolism system will be top priority, and we're gonna make it as best as we can.
Could you say? I know you probably can't say, but the majority of people that have taken the time out of their day to come watch this podcast on Twitch, especially because it's on your channel. This is the SCUM channel on Twitch. Would you say that the biggest core feature of the game, which is the metabolism, will be in before this summer?
Before summer,
Could you say
or
that?
like before the end of summer?
Will it be in before August, for example? Like, would you be able to give players, you know, the reassurance that it will be in by a certain time?
By the end
So,
by
'cause
the
that's
end
the
of this
biggest
year,
question you'll ever
100%.
hear.
But considering what happened within these past few weeks, we can't even say for certain, because we made the big mistake of announcing metabolism for 0.3 and then backing out of it because we weren't happy how it looked and how it felt and how it played. So I don't
Yeah.
want to give even end of the year is 100%. Before the end of the year, that's certain. But I can't even give you for a time for like the end of summer, because the way that it is right now.
So when you I mean, this is the thing. When you say by the end of the year, how do you? I mean, obviously, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. It's not easy. But this is the reason why a lot of people are just starting to lose a bit of faith. Very slightly, because I know there's been issues with the engine. The engine's being ported over. You guys are going to be putting it over to the new engine, which is going to give optimizations and actually have the metabolism system on it. I know that can't be done in minutes or hours or days. It can't be done that quick. But people are dying for that
Well,
metabolism system, screaming for it, because that is the game that SCUM started a year and a half ago, and a year and a half later we still haven't seen
yeah,
it.
as I've said, it's one of those things that firstly, it took a shit ton of time to actually get working at first, and then the engine swap came in, which slowed it down even more, because we rather chose to make it better with the new engine, rather than implementing it now and then having to fix it later after we upgrade to the new engine.
Okay, no, that's cool. When the metabolism is implemented, will the mechanisms for the metabolism be implemented as well? I.e., the diseases, half-baked food that makes you sick, you know, drinking water that's not boiled, for example, and stuff like that. Will those mechanisms be implemented with that mechanic, or will they come soon after? Or is it going to be an ongoing process?
Some of
with
the things are going to
metabolism
be their baseline, but like with many other features, we're going to add more to the metabolism as we've set the groundwork for it. Because currently the groundwork for metabolism, and as many of other players know, is not the best. And that's why we decided, and that's why
Right.
most of the things that we're doing, we do from the ground up, because mistakes were made during the development of the game that it pays off more for the future of the game that we develop them again from scratch and make them the way they were supposed
Yeah.
to be, because sadly during development there wasn't enough resources and enough people to make it happen the way that we wanted to. But exactly, but
To
but thank
fulfill the whole
but, th-
thing.
but
Yeah, I see what
thankfully
you're saying. Yeah,
during
yeah,
the
I've got
past year especially, we've gained a lot more people, especially in the programming department, which is huge for us, because everything in the game depends on them. Because of course a 3D artist can finish a building or a car or something else, but then it takes a programmer to actually code it into the game and make it work properly, adding physics and everything else. So yeah, and that's why.
I've got you. Okay. No, I appreciate the answer. I really do, and I think the majority of people out there will appreciate that as well, because the medical diseases and stuff like that, like you say, it's going to slow down PvP dramatically. People are going to start focusing on their character, because of the way the survival is. And I've said it a million times. This is this will be such a unique experience and unique game once that system comes in, because there's no other game that runs that kind of mechanic currently, and it's not something you can do in 5 minutes. It's something that's going to be game changing for other games in the future as well, if they want to implement survival features and attributes, skills, and all that sort of stuff as well, which is great to have the skills that we already have now. And I'm personally looking forward to having more skills in the future.
Great, yeah. And that's our plan. But yeah, as
Yeah.
I've said, personally for us as well, metabolism is one of the biggest things that we've been looking forward to since we got here. And I can't wait till it's in fruition and we can start making making the game the way we want it to be.
Yes, yeah, that's it. It's because it's nice to get back on that. How SCUM was when it first started. Do you know what I mean? It was survival based.
Well,
and that's
yeah,
what this game is. It's a survival game, and I'd hate to lose that feel of it being a survival game.
And that's why we've bumped up
entirely.
metabolism so significantly, especially during the past year, because we listen, we read. What?
Who's outside? Who's outside? Who's
nobody.
driving the car?
Come to get him.
I mean, I can't hear it. Is there literally someone there, or?
Can I have a gun?
PvP instincts
PvP
kicking
instincts.
in.
Okay.
Hey, we're trying to do a podcast over it. Keep it down. No, I'm joking.
Do you know who it is? I don't know.
Is it
We'll
level
have
or
to see.
something?
We'll do some of our development investigation work and